There it goes. Hey, hi everybody. This is early on Thanksgiving Day, somewhat. Today's 11/23/2017. It's my day 1.195, and I gotta see if I can break through this block. And as this is my transition block, hey, this is where I do it. I have a piece of paper here. I wrote some topics down on it, and help me stay on track. I'm like right on the verge of crying, and I'm trying to get it out. Um, but yeah, so hello, and I want to talk about Thanksgiving 2017. I went back this morning as I was trying to collect my thoughts, and I looked back at Thanksgiving 2015. And I think it's good to keep a journal. It lets you get your thoughts out. Excuse me, I'm adjusting. Lets you get your thoughts out, as well as it's very good to go back and see where you were. You know, and then 2 years ago, I was still married, but my marriage was over. I mean, it was over. Um, I had already, my ex-wife knew about me when we first met that I was trans, and it was one of those things that when I first met her, I told her, I'm transgender. I just don't know when I'm gonna pop. I don't know when I can stop denying my inner person. And she married me anyway. And little did I know she was a lesbian. She didn't tell me that. So 2 years ago, we were still trying to figure out if we were going to stay together or whatnot. And she was off doing things with her lesbian friends. And, I was home by myself, alone. My daughter had spent some time at her cousin's house, and hanging out with her nieces and nephews and whatnot. So I was alone. And I didn't know what to do with myself 2 years ago. I was still coming to terms with my feelings and whatnot. And, when my daughter was home, I couldn't come out. I had to remain inside this dead shell of a person I was then. But for the moment I was alone, again, it was feeling out. And then 2016, Thanksgiving 2016, things were a little different. I was on hormones. I was, transitioning. I was 6 or 7 months on hormones, and for all intents and purposes, living full time. My daughter knew about me and accepted me and loved me. I was living as a woman, etc., etc. Now, my ex-wife hated me. She hated me because in her minds I killed the man she loved. I killed the person that she fell in love with, or when in reality she was just using me as a beard, as a distraction to keep people from knowing she was a lesbian. But I was happy that she was doing what she wanted to do, be a lesbian. And I was happy that I was doing what I wanted to do, which was to live as a woman, etc., etc. So to go from that to this year, where I've been almost living as a woman for a full year. I mean, December, I waited until the end of my daughter's second quarter, right at winter break when she broke for Christmas. That was the last day that I stopped not being myself full time. I had already changed my driver's license. I had already done all that stuff. It was just I was holding out for her, for my daughter, in her school. And that was something that I had let her school know, the administration and school and everything, that, starting for them, starting January 2017, I was Mrs. Robin Parks, etc., etc. However, I was already pretty much full time. But you know, it's a matter of I wear the same clothes, V-necks, cardigans, and at the time I'd take off my skirt and put on my jeans and go pick up my daughter. You know, that was me in male drag. You know, but again, I did it for my daughter's benefit. I waited. So, what is the difference this year? You know, I feel kind of a lot of sadness this year, and not like, you know, I think people say, oh, you don't have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving, you know, come over for Thanksgiving, and I'm so very happy. I feel so blessed to have been invited over to Miss Sarah's house if I wanted to, and it's nice to have friends for that. But today I really just need some solitude. And much like previous years, you know, my daughter is going to go over to her cousin's house. She might, or her nieces and nephews, spend the night, have a blast. You know, that's what kids do. You know, spend the night, play Minecraft, you know, talk about whatever. And, you know, so again, I'm looking forward somewhat to that quiet time. Being a full-time parent, you know, it's to have 5 hours to yourself is pretty good. Although I'm sure after an hour or two, I'll be looking around going, you know, where's Katie? Where's Katie? You know. But I want to talk a little bit. I want to explore a little bit about transitioning. And I have a lot of things that I'm kind of doubtful of, and I need to go through them. I can say that as far as transitioning goes, I am, excuse me, I'm adjusting. I have absolutely no doubt, and I want to say curse the man who, when I was 19 years old, told me that transgender folks won't tell you the truth because of you know, that's a lemon, and like a car, they buy a bad car and they won't admit they buy a bad car. You know, trans women won't admit the fact that they made a mistake, so you can't count on what trans women say. You know, what a fucking jerk he was. And I can't think of a bad thing. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do when I was 19. And here I tell the therapist, the counselor, and what does he do? He puts more doubt in my mind, you know, makes me go back into my shell, makes me go back into the closet because I can't trust what trans women are going to tell me. What a fucking idiot. Can't go back, though. Can't go back. Can't go back. You know, and as much as we say, I wish I would transition sooner or whatnot, I mean, it's just life. There's too many variables to say that. We transition when it's right for us. But anyway, back to let's leave negativity behind us and focus on the present. Yeah, no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. I mean, I live my life now with no fear, shame, or guilt. You know, I'm not living a lie anymore. I'm totally transparent. If you'll pardon the pun somewhat, I'm totally. This is me. This is me. I'm not hiding anything. You know, if you don't like me, that's fine. I don't care. I like myself, and that's like the biggest plus I think to transitioning. And cis people take it for granted. You know, just how much we loathed ourselves before, whether we were aware of it or not. And having transitioned and gone full time, I think that is like 70% of making it. You know, we went out to lunch yesterday. Miss Sarah came over and fixed my sink, and I'm namaste. And so I took her out to lunch with Katie, and to be at the restaurant, I mean, in a way you get used to it, you know, ma'am, miss, her, but it's so affirming. And people you don't meet at the grocery store or whatnot, ma'am, miss, hun, you know, and even people I used to know and I used to interact with, the deli ladies. You know, I used to go to the grocery, you see someone every week, you get to know their face. And when I went in as ma'am, I was treated as ma'am. You know, I was treated as she, her, and, you know, they today, hey, hon, I'll be right with you, you know, etc. And it's just, ooh, it's like, and again, you won't know it until you experience it, you know. So I have no doubt about transitioning. I really do. And I want to add a postscript to that I'm still transitioning. It's not over yet. Yes, I've done this for about a year and a half as far as hormones go. And like I said, if you want to start the clock at December, when my daughter, the end of her school break, and that was, in my mind, that was kind of the break with previous living. Been, like I said, about a year for that. I mean, I'm more than a year as far as full time goes, but you know what I mean, technically. I lost my train of thought. Oh, I'm still transitioning. Changes are still happening. I'm not done yet. We always feel like when we're transitioning, I wish the changes would happen. I wish I had bigger breasts. I wish my hair was longer. I wish my nails were longer. But the changes are happening every day, whether we notice it or not. And being a year and a half into it, I still have a good 2.5, 3 years left as far as breast development and body changes and your neural networks and your brain and everything. I mean, this isn't over yet. I'm not done yet. And so all I can comment on is being in transition. I can't talk about being done. That may never be. It may always be a transition of some sort. Hang on, I got to take care of my baby. Okay. My baby likes to be in my lap. My cat. So that's cool. So again, no doubt there. No doubt there. Ongoing process. Next topic is my daughter, Katie, who has been a blessing on many levels. On many, 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 many levels. It was a concern, as I was living the lie growing up, how she would treat me. Would I be loved? And you hear about kids abandoning their parents and et cetera and et cetera. And my daughter has just been so supportive. I cannot imagine going through this with another child, because she's just so caring and supportive. And I think a lot of that has to do with age. I transitioned while she was in 3rd grade, and so she was young. And again, they say that as adults, the farthest back we can go is like 3rd or 4th grade, and so going forward, this is going to be how she remembers me, as an adult. And because she wasn't in middle school, she wasn't polluted somewhat by other people's opinions and whatnot. And in spite of, and then again, the way things worked out, there wasn't much venom from other people who were against my transitioning. So things really worked out well for her and for me. But again, to see her become the woman she's going to be is amazing. And I feel like I've done my job as a parent. And that was a concern and somewhat of some guilt, about how I wasn't going to be a good parent. I wasn't going to be a father. And how dare I abandon my daughter? And that's not how this is played out. If anything, we are closer. We are closer as a family because of it. And again, it's because I'm my authentic self. I am giving you everything up front. And I wish we have a couple younger and very beautiful women, I might add. Very jealous of you, Amber. And Megan too. Skinny bitches. Anyway, I got that out. No, in all seriousness, beautiful, beautiful young women, and nice chassis, I might add. But I derailed myself again. Poop. Oh well. Where were we going? Oh, sorry. It sucks getting old. Your brain just. But younger. Okay. That's where we were going. We were going. Coming to terms with. Coming out to the family, dealing with those initial, when we stub our toe in our transition, coming out to our parents, etc., etc., etc. But I think initially it's hard for a parent to accept that, well, what do you mean you're not a girl, you're not a boy? What do you need? You've been my son your entire life. And when the skin that we wear and the mask that we wear begins to rot and we're a walking corpse, it is somewhat scary to take that off and say, well, no, here is how I am. I mean, we're very vulnerable and very honest about presenting our authentic self. And I think eventually that bondness becomes closer again. And I can only say that coming from my dad, who, you're dead to me, I don't want to know you sort of like vibe, to a couple months ago, my dad came up and stayed with us. And by the end of the visit was calling me she, her, and Robin and whatnot. And so stick with it, stay through it. It seems like a big hurdle at first, but from my transition speech, I have no regrets, and yes, there still are some holdouts. However, they like to make everybody miserable, not just me, and fuck them. Swivel on it, punk, bitch. Okay. I mean, not gonna buy into your shit. Not gonna buy into your shit. Like I said, I'm so much happier the way I am now, and I'm so much closer with my daughter. So fuck all of the people who just, they're miserable and they want to make us miserable. And no, don't need it. Don't need it. Don't need it. But again, back to Katie, my daughter, I'm so very happy and I feel so very blessed. And she loves me for me and my authentic self. So you couldn't ask for more than that. I am a little concerned about empty nest syndrome, which I think will happen. Again, she's going into middle school. She's going to start to want to be with her friends and listen to them more. And, used to be, your crazy father. Now it's going to be your goofy mother, father. I don't know what I am now. That may change too. So things are good there. The house. This is the house that has seen my daughter grow up from a toddler. We moved to this house when she was less than 1 year old. She was about 9 months old when we moved in. This has been the house that I have started my second puberty in. Because of the way my divorce went, I have lived in almost every room of this house. I used to live in this room when I was married, the master bedroom, and then as our marriage kind of dissolved, I moved into the guest room. I slept in there for a while, and then I moved into my daughter's room, and she took this room when my ex-wife moved out because my daughter wanted the bigger room, and now I'm back in this room. And so I've actually lived like in every room you could live in. I lived in the basement for a while, again, part of the divorce stage. This is the house that has seen me through a lot of changes. And, I want to spend the time to fix it up and make it the way I want. At the same time, this is the house I bought with my ex-wife. And I kind of would like to have my own house that's my house. If that makes any sense. But, I don't know what the future holds. It's been a good house. It's seen a lot. And, I want to maintain consistency for my daughter so she has, a place to grow up and to be the same place. I think that's important. And we definitely could move to another house. And she could still see her friends, go to the same school, etc., etc. So I don't necessarily know. And obviously, every time I make a mortgage payment, I'm building equity in the house. It's definitely to our advantage to stay. But at the same time, it was built in 1954. It needs work, and so money's kind of tight, and etc., etc. But we've had some repairs lately, some leaky stuff that had to be replaced. And just stuff you do when you have a house. And so it's one of those things, you begin to question, okay, do I really want to live here? and then the headache of selling it, and I have to do some stuff with my ex-wife as far as the title and everything. It's one of those things, it's on the back burner. My work is another issue. I wrote down here work. My employer has been awesome as far as my transition goes. I didn't really have any fear before. I had fear about people, not necessarily the company. People can be mean. And my company really did support me through my transition, and I can't imagine a better company to work for. But as and somewhat in the last, I'd say 3 to 6 months, I really have established myself as a female at my work. And just life going on. I mean, people leave and new people come on, and they only know me as Mrs. Parks. And it's nice to be assumed that I'm Mrs. Parks, etc., etc. Both on the phone and in person. That's quite a boom. But periodically, before I transitioned, I would go through periods where I would question, is this what I want to do? Am I still happy? And I think somewhat I'm doing that now. And also, I was kind of being pushed into a management position, and I don't want to be responsible for people. I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to be a project manager. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be a director. And in the corporate world, they like to kind of think 3 steps ahead and groom your replacement and whatever. And I've had some pushback. I've had to push back on some things where I'm like, no, that's not the direction I want to go into. And the response is, well, but what about your growth and development? I'm like, I really am totally happy where I am. And if I have to grow and develop, I'd rather go in this area. So this is where I need to go. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. And that's a little bit of uncertainty. The last 2 items are kind of tied together somewhat. And the next topic of kind of sadness, uncertainty is surgery, which is kind of odd to say it's uncertain, but well, yeah, no, it's probably par for the course. I'm closer now than I have ever been to having surgery. I wanted to have surgery when I was in middle school. And, to be 30 some odd years later and still want it, and to be closer to it, it's definitely something that's not a dream anymore. I only have to lose 22 more pounds in the next 60 days. My paperwork is already done as far as the WPATH standards of care. I've completed all the requirements for my insurance, those kinds of things, a surgeon, etc., etc. I just have to lose the weight. And, to me, I think as far as being transgender, living full time is about 70%, maybe 75% of what it takes to be happy, because everyone around you treats the way you want to be treated, your authentic self, etc., etc. And you don't have to have surgery for that. As there is a spectrum of gender and sexuality, there's a spectrum for how far you want to go, how far you want to take it as far as the transition goes. But I have felt somewhat that I won't grow anymore until I have had my surgery and been able to experience what surgery will grant me as far as a relationship or whatnot. And so that's on the horizon. And so, I'm very excited about that. I mean, I don't want to say that's going to fix everything. I think that's kind of fear, but also an illusion to say, oh, my life is going to be so much better after I, have a neoclitoris or whatnot. But I really do. It's something I've always wanted. And I want to experience that. I want to experience sex. I want to experience penetration as a woman, etc., etc. And I think I kind of crave that intimacy, sexuality, but also closeness that you get with a lover or someone, spouse, etc. And so that's on the horizon, you know. The last thing is kind of family. And I kind of touched on some things with my daughter. As she grows up and grows older, it's only natural for her to, the more comfortable she feels and the more she becomes a young adult, the more she is going to distance herself from me, but also from the home here. You know, that's life. That's sweet. That's what we do, usually. It's what I was expected to do. You know, graduate high school, go to college, move away, start my life, etc., etc. And while I'm giving my daughter a lot of options, you know, if she chooses to go to college, she can. She chooses to take some time off, she can. It's her life. I want her to be like fully involved in her future. I'm not gonna tell her what to do. But at the same time, you know, that said, I have to think about what my life is going to be like then. And, you know, like I touched on a little bit with surgery, you know, will I meet someone? Will I meet a man and we're married, you know, and I'll be a wife? Um, that brings a smile to my face, you know. So there's some uncertainty there, and some concern too. And that was something that kept me from transitioning before was, you know, I'll be an ugly woman. No one will like me. No one will love me, etc., etc. And I tend to think that, you know, a relationship for a cis person is pretty rough. You know, two cis people to find each other. Why wouldn't a trans person have the same difficulty? You know, number one, you don't know till you do it, but number two, it's a bit of a numbers game to figure out and find someone else. And so if you're huddled and sheltered, you know, you keep yourself stunted physically or stunted socially, then you're not going to meet anybody, you know. So again, that's something I'm interested in exploring, but it is definitely a concern of mine, you know. And if I had to weigh, if I was to be alone for the rest of my life, my daughter moves out, does her own thing. If I had to weigh being alone versus not being my authentic self, you know, I'd rather be my authentic self, you know, but I don't know. I don't know. That's something that's beyond scope, I guess. So those are some issues, I guess, that's on the horizon, and I'm about to go through a series of rapids, fiscally. You know, I go back to court in a couple weeks about child support, and so much, you know, every dollar is going towards my daughter, as it should be. As it should be. As a parent, you have a child, you take care of your child. But when it comes to being able to repair the house or put food on the table, you know, I need help, and I can't do it by myself, you know, especially when both parents have an obligation to the child. And that'll be kind of the next, I think, area of growth will be, I'm hoping my ex-wife will step up and not only pay the child support, but also be a mother, you know, be the other half of this co-parent relationship. And I think I'm hoping she will. And obviously, as I said before, she's had to get her own life together and deal with her own sense of identity. And I'm very happy that she is the person she is. She is the lesbian she was meant to be, you know. And it's seriously, no bullshit. I mean, as I am the authentic person I am meant to be and am, she gets to do that now, you know. So that's a plus. But that, you know, there's some things you can't do if you don't have the money for it, whether it be replacing a faucet or fixing the toilet, which is going to be my next project. But also taking care of what needs to be done, which would be your child's, you know, food, shelter, clothing. But then beyond that, as a person, you should be able to buy good quality food to eat, not buy crap. junk food and whatnot. Healthy foods, but also your own mental health, your own being as an individual. Clothes for yourself that you need. Not. And when I say that, I don't mean something extravagant, but I'll give you an example. I still have my first nightgown that I wear every night, and it's one of those things. Every so often, I'm like, maybe I should get myself a second nightgown so I have a spare. And it always seems like, well, no, I can't. Katie needs this. Katie needs that, which again is as it should be as a parent. But it's one of those things. It's like in our lives, we work very hard, and we should be able to have a spare pair of underwear. You know what I mean? But I happily give that up for my daughter. But thinking ahead a little bit as she becomes her own adult, and what will I do to improve myself and et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of interesting or positive, but it kind of goes back into that empty nest syndrome a little bit. And I'm trying to think, have I really... I don't know if I've talked through my stuff, which is good. And I've definitely given you an idea of where I'm at here on a year and a half. We'll see where we are next year. Might be living in a new house. I may have met someone. I don't know. We don't know the future as much as we think we do. And I know someone, Julie, who I always, she kids me, she says there's no normal. There's people ahead of you, and I hate to say ahead of you, in the graduating class ahead of you. And I see Julie, and she seems to be so happy and so full of life and whatnot. And I see that as my future as I continue to discover who I am. And then you see someone in the freshman class, folks like Amelia and Amber, who are dealing with issues that I dealt with 2 years ago. And you get excited for them because you know what a positive turn their life is going to take in the future. You know that, it's funny when someone says, I just started hormones, everyone's like, yay! And it's because of the second birth. We've experienced that. Finally, whew, it's that release. Whew, you're connecting with your inner self. And so in the last therapy group I was in, I just always felt like I was the old fuck. I was the old person who just kind of sat there and was like, yep. Yep. Did you think about that? How do you feel about that? I was the old person, and I was, for fear of sounding like I knew everything, and I don't. It really comes down to that. You want to help the person who's behind you not stub their toe on the rock that you did. If you can. If you can politely say, well, did you think about this? Or how do you feel about that? It's kind of our obligation. And, I definitely want that happy future. I have a happy present. Don't misunderstand me. So, all right. Well, I don't want to waste any more time today, but that's kind of where we're at. And I do feel a little better. So maybe this was worth it. But definitely good luck in your transition, and I'm gonna keep going in mine. I don't think I'm gonna go back. Oh, it would be funnier if it wasn't true. And I only say that because when I was in my 20s, I did transition in the 90s, and it was the best 4 months of my life previously to my daughter being born. When I was in my 20s and I was on hormones and I basically went full-time in a day. And so to detransition is hell. especially when you go through all the stuff you have to go through to transition and then to go back through it. It may make it easier the second time, but I can definitely say the genie is out of the bottle, and I am who I am. And that's not going to change as much as I am still changing, if that makes any sense. All right, enough. Good luck, everyone. Happy Turkey Day, if today's your Turkey Day as well. Thanksgiving. I'm very, very thankful for the friends, and I'm thankful for the friends that have remained. I lost a lot of friends in this process. I lost a lot of so-called friends, and I've lost some family members in this. But I'm very thankful for the friends that have stood by me, and for the new friends that I have made, and family who may not be blood related, but who would definitely shed blood for me, and I would give blood for them. You know, they're definitely on my kidney donor list. Okay. I'm very, very thankful for that. And that's true. And maybe that's what Thanksgiving really is all about. So it's pausing to reflect and say, thank you, God, number one, if you believe in God. But also to thank those people who have helped you out. And also just to be thankful. It's very easy to be ungrateful and to be spiteful. But I think as we get in touch with our inner selves, you know, we are thankful. We are thankful. So anyway, good luck in your journey as always. And until next time,